scan a QR code in a restaurant, you expect to go to the menu. We have a lot of restaurants that use us, and they change their menu based on time of day. Breakfast, lunch, happy hour, dinner. And what our link does is says, what time is it? And it sends you to the right menu. It's not rocket science, but it really helps the user get to where they want to go. We got a lot of QR codes on television to install my app. When you scan the QR code, we do device detection. If you're Apple, we go to the Apple Store. If you're Android, we go to the Google Play Store. Like, it drives me nuts when a major brand, and I'll pick on Duolingo because they're really bad at this. They have a QR code that takes you to a landing page that says, click A or B. If you're Apple, click here. If you're Android, click here. And I'm like, that is so frustrating because as a marketer, I know that's a stumbling block that they're losing users.
Are you a scaling SaaS founder?
Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those who don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where digital age sales is less about hard pitches and more about smart signals, sharp value, and not sounding like a bot. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I help B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. How do you sell to customers who don't know you and frankly aren't sure they need you? Cracking into new markets is hard enough, and doing it without brand recognition or a warm intro, that's a completely different level of challenge, especially for founders trying to sell into big organizations with slow-moving processes and miles of red tape. In this episode, we explore how to break through the noise by borrowing trust through strategic partnerships and leveraging agency channels that already have a foot in the door. We'll also dig into pricing psychology, revealing why your offer might flop with small businesses, but thrive with enterprise, not because the product changes, but because the perceived value does. You'll learn how sales cycles can go from almost impossible to very real when you stop pushing through the front door and start going right through the side entrance. Plus, we spotlight a tech twist, a rules engine that tailors marketing messages based on real-time factors like weather and location, turning generic outreach into personalized, conversion-friendly experiences. And hey, for the founders navigating the ever-tempting world of VC funding, this episode makes a compelling case for bootstrap growth with intentional control, proving that slower isn't always weaker, but sometimes it's just smarter. If you're looking for a fresh perspective on modern go-to market tactics, pricing nuance, and how to sell without screaming louder, this episode is full of sharp, strategic insight. Let's dive in. Our expert guest last Thursday was Stacy Bishop, fintech sales coach and founder of Selling Fintech. She shares how to win deals in the most risk-averse environments like banking. From stakeholder mapping to building trust at every step of the funnel, Stacy delivered a go-to market strategy that works in any regulated industry. And our founder last week was Raul Pangam, co-founder of Rapid Canvas and ex-PayPal exec. He showed us how to bring AI to the masses. Whether you're technical or not, this platform lets business users turn natural language into real code and real results. It's absolutely fantastic, especially for somebody like me who's not technical. Pretty awesome. But if you missed either of those episodes, there's a lot of gold in there, so go back and give them a listen. My guest today is Cate, founder of 301.pro. He joins the show to break down what it takes to build and sell tech products in today's shifting B2B landscape. With 30 plus years in the game, including senior roles at Microsoft and Amazon, Scott shares why even the best product doesn't matter if you're pitching it to the wrong customer in the wrong way. He'll explain why he stopped selling direct, started building through agency partners, and how context-based personalization, yes, even weather data, is changing the game for conversion rates. Scott also lays out the strategy behind his pricing model, how it aligns to customer size and life cycle, and why bootstrapping was the best path forward for his business. Welcome, Cate. Hey, Scott, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Thanks for having me.
You've been building tech since the floppy disk days, and now you're leading innovation in cloud native link routing. Quite a difference. What
Yeah.
inspired you to build 301 Pro?
Oh my gosh. I wonder how much of your audience knows what a floppy disk is.
Probably not enough.
The high school kids think that save icon is a vending machine. Like, why do I click the vending machine to save my Google Cloud, Google
Exactly.
Docs? Oh man. Yeah, I've been around a long time, and there's actually a very beginning and a very end. In 10 seconds to your conversation, we have reinvented a hyperlink, which is weird because the very first thing you learn as you start playing with the internet is what a hyperlink is.
Of course.
How do you get somebody from point A to point B? And everything that the world knows in the beginning of the internet, the hyperlink is hard coded. And then we started thinking, oh, these links are ugly. Let's shorten them. So then we got
Right.
Bitly. And Bitly is, oh, here's a nice, pretty short link that's easy to remember, easy to type. And the problem with all those links is they're hard coded. And so we've reinvented a link that has a rules engine that can change along the way. That's 40 years of my life in 10 seconds.
I love that. And you're right, because when we create a link or even when we create a short link, yeah, that's maybe a little bit better, but it all goes to one place. Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
no way to change that dynamically over time. You can't redirect it. So what would be like a use case where you would see this really beneficial?
Yeah, you can actually redirect it. That's the nice thing about a short link is you can say, oh, I made a mistake, and you can
Okay.
fix it, right? Because that short link effectively, it would still be hard coded, but you could fix your mistake because the short code is like
Gotcha.
a bounce. And the bounce is for a lot of reasons. Not only is it short and easy to see, but you can collect some analytics. How many times did the link get clicked? That's easy. That's the main reason
Yeah.
that people like to use the link shorteners, but it's still hard coded. Here's what I mean by hard coded. If 1,000 people click a link, short link, long link, any link, including scan a QR code, which I call clicking a link, that's
Sure.
basically putting a link into your phone. If 1,000 people click a link and they all go to the same place, that's a huge miss. There's a huge marketing opportunity that has been missed along the way. And people that are using Bitly know the hard coding problem because often people will put the UTM tracking links in a Bitly code. UTM source equals
right.
social media. But then the very next day, they use that short link in their email newsletter. And now all their attribution is gone because
Okay.
it's hard coded.
Yeah, it
Right?
makes sense.
All right. Answering your question, you said, what are some use cases? Because we started with UTM, let's actually talk about that. Why does UTM have to be decided up front? The definition of UTM source is trying to answer the question, what is the traffic attribution? Somebody just came to
Right.
my site by clicking this link. Where did they come from? We actually take the stance that you shouldn't have to define the UTM source up front. We can figure it out for you. If the link came
That
from
would be awesome.
Facebook, we just inject UTM source equals Facebook. And we normalize Facebook. So even if someone on your team did capital Facebook, lowercase Facebook, FBook, FB, we normalize all of those to lowercase Facebook. So in your Google Analytics, you only have one UTM source, and it was dynamically injected along the way. But I feel like we dove right into the deep end. So if you, with your permission, if I could just back up,
Of
let's
course.
talk about the understanding what's really happening here. So in the beginning, there's a hyperlink, point A to
Right.
point B, mydomain.com, you click it, you go there. Then there was a short link introduced. That's where Bitly and Rebrandly and my company 301 Pro come in, where you basically do a hop, you do some analytics, and then you move along the way.
Okay.
So everything that I'm going to talk about today, and I have 1,000 examples, probably more, all comes back to this one very basic thing that I'll refer to as a rules engine. So you click your link, it comes to 301 Pro, we process the rules engine, and if there are no rules, it's hard coded. 1,000 people go to the same place. But if
Okay.
there are rules like location, language, web device detection, iPhone or Android, we can do all these decisions inside the rules engine that basically says this user should now go to this place. So let me just rattle off a couple things to get your brain going.
That's pretty amazing.
Scan a QR code in a restaurant, you expect to go to the menu. We have a lot of restaurants that use us, and they change their menu based on time of day: breakfast, lunch, happy hour, dinner.
Sure.
And what our link does is says, what time is it? And it sends you to the right menu. It's not rocket science, but it really helps the user get to where they want to go. We got a lot of QR codes on television to install my app. When you scan the QR code, we do device detection. If you're Apple, we go to the Apple Store. If you're Android, we go to the Google Play Store. Like, it drives me nuts when a major brand, and I'll pick on Duolingo because they're really bad at this. They have a QR code that takes you to a landing page that says, click A or B. If you're Apple, click here. If you're Android, click here. And I'm like, that is so frustrating, because as a marketer, I know that's a stumbling block that they're losing users. Like, people are not continuing. Every step of the way, if you have something that you're stopping for cognitive load to ask a question that doesn't need to be asked, remove that so you can get the users right to where they want to be. So let's say we have another one. I'll just give you one more and then we'll get back into the rules engine. We've got proof of concepts with Verizon mobile store. When you scan a QR code on the television, instead of saying, where are you? We use location detection from the IP address on your phone, and we just take you to the closest Verizon store. We also have another trial that we're doing with Planet Smoothie and with General Motors. So your users can actually do this. If you type 301.pro/Chevy, that's a short link. This is a demo that we've set up.
Okay.
So 301.pro/Chevy, without asking any questions, 250 milliseconds, you're going to just show up at your closest Chevy dealership. And it's phenomenal. People do that and they're like, how does this work? And it all comes back to this very simple, like, rules engine in a box, where General Motors says, here's all of our Chevy dealerships. Once you know the GPS location, which we figure out from the IP address, which is not perfect, by the way, it's about 90% perfect.
Close enough.
Yeah, I don't need to know where you're sitting. I just want to know in a 5-mile range where you are. And it turns out the fidelity of location, 5 miles for a Chevy dealership, is pretty good. It does not work good for Verizon and Planet Smoothie. Because imagine you're in New York City.
Sure.
So
maybe
then
a
we
bunch
have
of locations within 5 miles.
That's right. So then we have something called precise location. And that's where we have to ask the user permission. Like, for ordering food, do you want to share your location? Yes. And then we can get you to exact location. But anyway, that's 3, 4, 5-minute introduction. Rules in a box. Change the destination of where your users could be. Ultimately, the goal is to make more money.
That's awesome. And I think it really solves a problem that most marketers don't even realize they have, or if they do realize it, they don't know that there's a solution out there. They just think that getting to the site or the QR code lands at the page. What more do you want? But I think that the user experience, and as we continue to go down this AI path and just more customized experiences, we really start to expect that we really want it to be, we just want the answer. We just want to get to the place and do the thing.
Yeah, so selling to strangers, I don't know how people do it. I think maybe they might have a fame from another life that they bring with them. Already have a follower fan base, but starting a brand from scratch and being able to sell to strangers, man, that is a nut that I can't crack it.
That's a tough one. I think a lot of founders struggle with that, just getting the word out there. One of the things that is really interesting, though, is that you've tapped that partner channel. And I think especially early on, that's one of the best channels out there, because you're able to sell one, they catch the vision, and then now they've got something to take their clients, and it's something really unique and provide a great experience.
That begets another problem of pricing.
Yes.
And if I have a sell to strangers model, which I started with, I can have a $10, a $40, a $99 pricing plan. If I have an enterprise pricing plan that takes me 6 months to close something through a national retail chain or a multinational advertising agency, now I'm in the $5 to $25 to $50,000 a year price point. We're about a year old. We have changed our pricing a lot. We've grandfathered a lot of people in, but we've come up to the point now where our product doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for small business. It doesn't work for mom and pop, because if I can give you an extra 5%, that 5% only matters if you're substantially making money. If you're making less than $100,000, then you can't pay me $5,000 and then get 5% return. You got to be at 1 million or 10 million or 100 million. We could make a product that is available to everyone. We could even have a free version that's just limited, that lets you create a fewer number of links. But at the end of the day, where's the value? And the value comes from larger teams. For example, my first example on the UTM source, you only have that problem if you have a large team creating content. Because if you're the only one creating content and you're the only one creating the links, then you know that it should be Facebook underscore or lowercase Facebook for your UTM source.
You would think,
but if you have
that's
10
not always
people
the
creating
case.
content, wait, say again?
I said you would think, but that's not always the case. We forget. But you're right. When you get to have multiple people touching that, it gets complex really fast.
Even if you're a solopreneur and you do FB in some cases and Facebook in another case, you're still so small that you also know that mistake in your Google attribution. So you're like, oh,
Sure.
A
That
plus
makes
B,
sense.
like you do have a problem, but it's not at a magnitude that needs a solution. So our current pricing now is $500 a month, which is astronomical to some people. And other people, like it literally means zero. It could be the same as zero because the numbers are so large.
Right.
And that's a sweet spot that we've hit that basically says, if you have a problem large enough that we could show you increase, then it makes sense. So that means we get a lot fewer sales. If you talk to 10,000 people, who's going to pay you $500 a month? Probably 4 of them. So now you have to find those 4 diamonds in the rough. Different than if you have a $10 product. With the change of audience also comes an understanding of pricing. And I don't know that we've done it perfectly because I don't know. Remember I said we've got a lot of good and a lot of bad. I'm airing some dirty laundry. Yeah. The $500 a month is our foot in the door. Every one of those customers so far has come along with an opportunity to ask for additional engineering help. Can you help us build an AI model that changes our links on the fly? And so that sort of goes down a consulting route. So we have one of the world's largest clothing companies, and I don't have the press release ready yet, but the case study is going to be phenomenal because we're using AI. We're creating over 100 variations in photos of every product they have. And so let's just talk about a pair of shoes. And the variations are based on time of day. Here's the real question. I'm going to derail for just a second. Are you the same buyer at 8 a.m., 3 p.m., or 11 p.m.? Like your mindset?
No, because I'm probably thinking about different things.
That's right.
Different phases of the day, different things going on. If I'm searching for something, there's probably a different reason I'm searching at 8 a.m. than I am at 10 p.m.
Exactly. So this is something that a master marketer has never had at their disposal before, because we really get to the fundamental and almost impossible question to answer. What time is it? So if we think about 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 11 p.m., and then I ask everyone in the audience just to think for a second, what time is it? Everyone literally like looks at their watch. They're like, oh, it's 8:30 a.m.
Right.
But that's the wrong answer.
Right.
So here's the same question phrased a little differently. There's 1,000 people on your website right now. What time is it?
Oh, that's good. Different everywhere.
Here's the
especially
answer.
if you're global.
Yeah, it's all the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's our AI thing that we're in the middle of building this right now. Time of day, location. Location is uber important, not only for language, but also for culture. And even it's different from, if you just take a very small region of the United States, West Coast, East Coast, North Coast, South Coast. If you're Seattle, you have a different buyer mindset than if you're Florida, than if you're New York, than if you're California. And if I am big enough to be sending out 1 million text messages a day, and I can tweak my message based on time and location. And here's our third factor that's mind-blowing if people are following along with this. Once we know your location, we know the weather.
Oh,
so let me ask you this. You're looking for a candle. And this is big data. So we're literally talking about millions of customers, but you're looking for a candle. Are you the same buyer if it's raining out, snowing out, or sunny out?
Probably not. Could be looking for
Like,
different reasons or could have a different mindset, different seasons.
that's right.
Yeah.
So we create all these variations of the candle, and now we need to show them dynamically. And this is where the rules engine comes in, because the rules engine says, where are you? And from location, we know time, and then we know weather. We put together a set of variables that says, show this candle on a beach in Florida when it's 80 degrees. And now you get a picture of the candle on a table outside on a patio with the ocean in the background. You don't get that if you're snowed in Chicago. But what's important is it's the same candle, right? We're still trying to sell the same $45 candle, but we're trying to connect with the buyer in real time to sell more candles.
That is really impressive. Just to think about that, because it really is contextual. It's giving somebody an experience that is more relatable to them and still gets them to the outcome. That's ultimately what we're looking for. Is if we're looking for candles or clothes, whatever it is, we want to get to that outcome. And I think anything you can do to move that and just remove the barriers,
That's right.
remove the number of clicks to find what they're looking for. And they see that and they're like, wow, this looks like here. Yeah, it matches them.
That's right. And so that's probably our most advanced example. Location detection to find closest retail store, that's great. Excuse me. We've got that promotion with General Motors that for oil change. It's like scan this QR code. And what you just said triggered my memory. We want to remove the friction of setting the appointment. So before you go to Chevrolet.com, you find your dealership, you say, oh, this dealership's close to me. Now I got to look for the service department. Now I got to figure out how to make an appointment. Like that's a 5-minute interruption. And what we've done is literally scan the QR code. It takes you right to the dealership. And I don't know if you have it in a browser, you can just open it on the side. 301.pro/Chevy is that proof of concept demo. And like, it just works. It's phenomenal. So removing the friction to let the user give you more money like that. I'm working on a new tagline that's something in that. It sounds a little cheesy, but like that's literally the goal is make more money through less friction with the person on the other end. And it's not all about selling products either. We're also working right now with the state of California. There's a giant hospital system, and they're using us for language detection.
Okay.
On the SMS message that goes out to fill out the form in the right language.
Wow.
And on the surface, you're like, wait, they know the language because they know the patient. But that's not the case because most of the time, not most of the time, a lot of the time, the patient is not the person completing the paperwork. Could be elderly, could be child, could be custodial. There's a lot of reasons that I might speak English, but the person filling out my paperwork is Spanish or Korean, Chinese, Japanese, whatever their native language is. And for all of your master marketers that know this, the user agent on the phone, when it loads a web page, says, this is the language I prefer. Right. So we use that in our rules engine. You're like, if this is Spanish, go to the Spanish form. If this is Chinese, go to the Chinese form. Imagine you only speak Chinese and someone's asking you to fill out an intake form that's in English.
Right.
Like you may have experienced this as you travel around the world filling out international customs forms. But lucky for us, they're always printed in 2 languages, and one of them is English.
Yes.
But imagine you didn't have that luxury. Like, so language detection is another huge buyer for us. And again, they're big enough that is going to help solve a problem. So they actually send out a text message that's 90% in English, and the bottom 10% is like 4 languages that basically says, click here to continue. Like a 1-line summary in Chinese, Korean, Spanish,
that's impressive,
et cetera, whatever their languages are. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. And it all comes back to this very simple concept. Click a link, go to a rules engine, and then head on to the final destination.
How do you think that changes the way that we consume information going forward? I think sales has changed if we're looking for whether it's a product or B2B. But how do you think that changes the sales dynamic going forward as our expectations continue to evolve?
I think it should be an invisible solution. Like when you click the link as the customer, you don't actually know the magic that happened. You just enjoy the result. Oh, I'm on this form that's Chinese. I expect to be filling out a Chinese form, but you didn't stop to think, how did that happen?
Right.
What's the thing? Nobody complains when it's good because it's good. It's so good. It's so natural. You literally didn't even know it happened. It just was in your flow of consciousness for the day, like breathing or blinking. If it's good, it's invisible. And so your question is, how does that affect sales? I think it affects sales by split testing. And here's what
Mm.
we've ultimately done with all of our customers. If it's a new project, then we don't have a baseline to compare it to. But if it's not a new project, we try to send out 50-50 for the beginning. Like, you send a million messages the old way, and now let's send a million messages the new way, and let's just use analytics to compare. Because without data, I'm full of hot air, right?
Sure.
I'm just a snake oil salesman saying this thing is amazing. And you're like, oh, let's buy it. I want it. I want to have it. But if it's
Right.
not making you more money, then we're not going to be a partner for the next 10 years. And that's
Right.
ultimately our goal, is you to make more money using our technology in the middle. And when that happens, we literally have annual contracts that get paid, or 3-year deals that come back that says, we don't want to deal with this for next year. Let's bring it in again. I think when it's good, it's invisible. And because we're talking about this visualization, let's go one step deeper. We've talked about this URL management in the sense of clicking a link. But the truth is, hyperlinks are used in a lot of places that are invisible even to you.
Sure.
So let's look at an image tag, right? You're doing a blog post, you have image, the image has a source. The source is a URL, right?
Okay.
But that
Yeah.
URL in the image source, hard coded every time. Like, it
Mm.
literally loads the same image. And you could do
Right.
some CSS, still hard coded, even though it's loading a different image. It's big screen, little screen, high def, low def, but it's still hard coded at the end of the day that it's a decision. So we actually go with some of our customers and we replace the image source tag as a ProLink goes through our
Wow.
rules engine. Now, if you're tracking this and your audience is understanding what's happening, this next part is mind blowing. Think about OG:image. Does that ring a bell? Do you know what that is?
No. What is it?
Okay. All right. So in the header of every HTML page, literally on the planet, is something called Open Graph. And they're meta
Okay.
tags. And this is the data that is used when a link gets unfurled. UNFURL is the term, unfurl.
Okay.
You've done this a million times. You send a text message that has a link in it, and you get a little preview that pops up,
Oh, okay.
whether
Yeah.
it's in Slack or text message, Twitter, Instagram. When you text a link and you get the preview, that's all built on a standard between Facebook and Twitter called Open Graph. And the
Okay.
Open Graph has an image tag. The image tag is what's displayed when you do the preview. So again, this is mind blowing. Let's go back to my sending a million messages a day from the global clothier that uses the AI to build images on the fly based on time of day and location. We can change the text message preview for the image for every customer as it's loaded on demand.
Wow.
So I send a million text messages with the same payload, same hyperlink, but when the preview loads, it's location, time, and weather specific. And that is like an 18% increase on click through rate.
Ever notice how every leadership book tells you to take the journey, but none really show you the map? Well, after scaling multiple companies to over 260 million in combined revenue and working with over 1,000 leaders, I discovered the key difference that separates leaders who burn out from those who build unstoppable momentum. It's not strategy, not charisma, it's not even luck. It's relationships, specifically four of them. My new book, The Captain's Keys, reveals the stability matrix, a proven system that transforms leadership from survival into sustainable success. Inside, you'll discover the four critical relationships every leader needs and exactly how to build them. You can get your copy at thecaptainskeys.com, Amazon, or your favorite bookstore, and it's available in print, ebook, and audio. You don't need another playbook. You just need the right people in your boat.
because we can immediately get to the consciousness of the buyer, connect with them on location. And so now, instead of just seeing this random pair of flip-flops when you're snowed in Chicago, you see a contextual aware image that is making you want to participate because it's like you. It's related to where you are right now. All on anonymous data. Like, I don't know what the house that you're sleeping in, but if
Right,
I know your
right.
5 mile range, like, I get a lot of data and I can use it instantly.
That is really smart. And 18% click-through rate
Huge.
increase, I mean, that's really good for anybody. But when you're
Yeah,
talking about brands that have significant volume like that's
that's right.
enormous. It's
Yeah.
millions and millions of dollars a year in additional sales.
And now to give me $500 a month is a
Peanuts.
no-brainer. So this is where we go
Right.
back to pricing, come full circle on that. Yeah.
How have
So
you
now
thought
how
about
do I
that
find
messaging?
10,000 people that can give me $500 a month? That's our goal.
How have you thought about that messaging? Because it is different between self-service and enterprise, and the two very different go-to-market paths. Now, how do you
Yeah,
think about product design and then messaging to those audiences? Because the needs are different too.
completely. So we've just redone this over the last 90 days. We have a brand new website, 301.pro. And if you look at that, you'll see it's very enterprise, it's headline heavy, and it's only talking about scenarios and solutions. It's not talking about the product, it's not showing screenshots. We don't have a free version. We do have a demo per se because you don't need a credit card to sign in, and the product is locked to 5 or 10 links that can be created, not even monthly, just we want you to log in and sniff around and see what's happening, but ultimately
Okay.
you can't use it in production until you pay. So it really comes down to a phone call. When you're selling to strangers at a 10 or 50 or less than $100 price point, you really don't want to talk to anybody because you can't scale at that
Right.
level. And people don't really understand this, but think for a second. Let's say you get 1,000 paying customers at $10 a month. That's still a fail. I know that's going to sound shitty, and some people are going to actually resonate with that and be like that. If you're a single person, then that's a great lifestyle business and you have money that you can pay your rent, but you can't really build a company on that. Can you get to 100,000 paying customers? What do you need to get to 100,000 in revenue monthly so that you could have employees to build a marketing program? And like you have to scale out. But if you have $1,000 on an iPhone app paying you $2 a month, I don't know, what's $2,000 a month going to do for somebody? It's good eating money, but it's not building a business.
Right.
And so the messaging, to go back to answer your question, the messaging goes back to relationships. Call us, set an appointment, and we want to talk to you to figure out if you're having problems that are big enough that we can solve, that would be substantial enough for you to make the make the investment.
I think it's good to think about it that way because you really want that critical mass, and that's where you have the biggest impact, and it's probably where you have loyalty forever, because if you're making
Right.
millions of dollars a year, they're never gonna leave, and I think that's really good, and they're a lot less price sensitive as well.
But it also is an impossible sales cycle. And I say
Mm,
impossible because let's say I'm talking to you. Hey, Jeff, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's going to make you an extra $1.5 million a month. That $15 million a year, more, what is it, $16.5 million a year, is going to change your bottom line. And you're like, that's amazing. Let's put a QR code on the television commercial so that we can make this happen. It turns out the commercial was already built a year ago.
so how do you
You
do that
can't
now?
just, yeah. So now I'm like, okay, let's get in the next commercial. We're planning out for 2 years. Like Chevy Truck Month doesn't just happen. It happened last
Right.
year.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I say it's an impossible cycle because even if we got past that, we've got the yard department, we've got the production department, we've got the analytics department, we've got the marketing department, we've got printing, we've got everything on board, then somebody has to pay for it. And now you're like, okay, how are we going to get 60,000 a year for this project? And Our secret so far has actually been not working with the client, instead working with the agency. And then the agency pays us to fulfill. And this is beautiful because the agency has already spent that 3 years getting into
Right.
the enterprise customer, and they can carve 60,000 a year out of the budget for us. I jumped from 5,000, which is 500 a month, to 60
Right.
because we have an enterprise solution where we'll take a snapshot of the software and run it on your cloud. And we do
Okay.
charge 5,000 a month for that. But most people don't need that. Some people do. And for the enterprise companies, General Motors has a whole big thing where they want things secure, rightfully, like their data, their analytics, like it all makes sense. But again, that at that price point, like I can't give you a custom version of the software for $500 a month. So anyway, so many crazy things to think about. It's a longer sales cycle. I call it an almost impossible sales cycle. We figured out a little bit of a workaround, but even that has problems because as people at the agency move, they bring us with them to the next agency where they move to. They're like, "Oh, you guys should use 301 because we used it on the last project and it's amazing."
Right.
That takes another year to get processed, or I'm being facetious, but it's a long sales cycle. Meanwhile, where they left, someone new comes in, they're like, "What's 301?
Yeah, what is
Like,
this thing?
why are we giving them 60,000 a year? Cut." We're like, "No, you can't do that because there's a QR code going into production that's going to be on TV next year. You've already paid for it." And they're like, "I don't care. I don't know anything about that." Slice. And you're like, it's like people listening know what I'm talking about if they're in the enterprise
Sure.
sales world.
Sure.
But yeah,
It is a tough market, but it is very different. Every market has its challenges. You'd have just a different set of challenges with SMBs or small companies if it was
yeah,
a very low ticket offering. So they all have their challenges. I'd much rather have challenges with bigger price tags.
yeah, yeah. They churn a little less, but when they do churn, it's also a lot more painful. It's like it's a deep cut. So here's a nod. Do you know what let's see if I can throw this on there. Do you know what 301 is? Not just a random number.
It's a permanent redirect, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's the name of our company, 301.pro, which is professional redirect. And just because we're at the end, a little backstory. We originally started as 301.dev because we thought we were going to develop redirects. Like it was awesome. We're nerds and we're like, this is crazy. Every time we talk to a professional marketer, they're like, "I'm not a developer. Why would I use this?" It was just an immediate showstopper because of the name.
Yeah.
And so we had to pay heavily for 301.pro. Ironically, like everything, domains are taken. But
Sure.
since then, that little twitch in our name change has made it so much easier to talk to people because it's like an ego inflation. I'm like, if you notice throughout this, I call people professional marketers or master marketers. But I say, if you're a professional marketer and you're working with redirects, 301.pro is like it falls into the language. So
Yeah.
I think naming is important as well. People know 404 is not found, 500 is there. And then most people in the professional marketing world do know 301 is a redirect. I haven't quite put the glue together to figure out how it all works, but that's where we come in with a conversation and figure out what the rules engine looks like. So yeah, there's a ton of fun stuff. We're growing. We're slowly growing. We'd like to grow faster. I think everybody would, but yeah, that's where we're at.
I love bootstrap companies, and you said that earlier that you're still
Yeah,
bootstrapped. How did you think about doing that versus going out and doing a big raise and that kind of thing? Just what was the thought process?
there's a guy online that a lot of people know. He's very popular. Levels.io.
Sure.
Levels.io. You follow him on Twitter? He just said something over the last week, which obviously does not answer your question because you're asking about when we got started, but it's directly related. I am 90% profitable because it's only me. And so if I make, I don't know what the numbers are, but let's just say if I make $1 million a year, that's $900,000 towards my lifestyle. And I'm competing against people that have $100 million VC money, but they're only 2% profitable because they're spending all their money on payroll and ads. And so to answer your question, I think it summarizes and it all comes back to the simple question. We'd like to fully be in control and have a much larger pie, even if it's smaller, and mathematically, it's still a win. Man, you've been in this world. Like you've seen founders that take money, that go through, have $100 million exit, and they're still broke at the end of the day.
That's
And they
one of
also
the
only
saddest
they only paid
stories.
themselves 80, 90, $100,000 a year. I'm like, man, if you had $100 million as the founder, you got to be able to take a little bit off the table and then also pay yourself a decent salary, 250, 350 a year, because you need to build up some savings because you don't actually have a golden exit at the end.
Yeah,
Where
you never know.
yeah, it pains me to see someone have $100 million exit and then the founder still has no money. You know, the $100 million exit is not great because your last round had an $80 million valuation. So it turns out you have a $100 million exit and everyone hates you because some people lost money and you really just had a job. Like, so
That's tough.
I also see there's another side of it where people need VC to go big with
Sure.
budgets. Like there's pros and cons and benefits to everything. There's no binary right or wrong. But for us, we just decided slower, more profitable, own it all, control it all. For right or wrong, that's where we are. And I'll even leave it up to an opportunity to change my mind in the future. I have this big dream. Who is it? Gary Vaynerchuk. He's like, you gotta have a big dream. And his is, I want to buy the Knicks. I was thinking, I've got this rules engine. What if I could just buy Bitly?
Mm,
Sure, it's $150 million, but if I could introduce this rules engine to every Bitly customer, now I have scale, and now I have the ability to probably 5x their revenue because I could introduce a concept where they already have the hundreds of thousands of customers,
right.
but I don't have $150 million.
Oh,
And
somebody does.
that may be a point when I had a strategic partnership somewhere in the future where they're like, oh, we're working with Optimizely. And they're like, okay, we want to do this and we're going to combine this and A, B, and C. Everything is on the table. That's just how we started. It doesn't necessarily mean that's how it finishes.
Sure.
But that's where we are today.
Oh, that's good. And like I said, I love bootstrap founders, and I think just the mindset is different than I'm just going to go raise more money if I don't have enough, and we'll just burn and burn. But
Yeah.
I think you think about business differently, but it puts you in a much different place. And I like that, just that you said you want to be in control, and you really are. And it's not a binary thing. It's not a never. There's only one way
Right.
to do it. There's 1,000 ways to fund companies,
You got
and that's just
150
one.
million I can borrow.
But we'll talk after. You think about that, and it's not a now or never thing. There's
Right.
always options, but the thing about really getting profitable and building a business and adding customers and really going for it on your own, it puts you in a much better position if you do decide to raise, and
Right.
it opens up options, and that's where,
Because then you
you
have
can.
proof.
Yes,
Like the proof is we built this, people are buying it, people are making more money from it, and they're renewing. Like now I
exactly.
have proof. It's no longer the snake oil salesman. It's no longer just, this is going to be fancy. Do it, buy it. Like the proof is in the revenue. So,
Yeah,
like you said, it's not right or wrong for everyone,
sure.
but it's working for us.
That's awesome. Where can people learn more about 301.pro?
That's
That's right
it.
there in the name.
I wish we had the Twitter handle 301 Pro. Instead, it's 301 PROF, prof,
Okay.
but everything's on the website, 301.pro. We have 301 Pro social media handles in most places, Instagram, LinkedIn, but yeah, everything's on the website. If you have any questions, there's a live chat, there's a form to contact us. It's if somebody has an interest in contacting 301.pro, they will easily be able to do that.
Awesome. And they might even get custom images served up based on where they are and time of day.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
All
you're
right, Scott,
amazing.
it's been
Thanks for
such a
having
great
me today.
conversation. Thanks for being on SaaS Fuel.
Cheers.
Thanks again, Scott, for coming on the show and sharing your journey and insights. You can learn more about Scott and his company 301.pro at 301.pro. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well. It's at Champion Leadership. We have full video episodes, reels, training, outtakes, lots of stuff over there for you on YouTube. Thought leaders share. I bet you're one. Share this episode with your smartest friends. It's one of those conversations don't want to rewind and dissect. Everyone who shares this week gets a scroll of startup wisdom printed on ancient VC pitch napkins, blessed by the three ghost founders and a golden retriever named Pivot. I have no idea, but that's what you get. So share this. And besides that, they're going to hear that they're your smartest friend anyway. That's pretty cool. What is the real ROI of delegation? How do you scale without burning out? Next week, Qasim Aslam, serial entrepreneur and best-selling author, shares the exact frameworks he used to build and exit 7 and 8-figure businesses by hiring smarter and leading leaner. After that, Aaron Godby, CEO of Green Irony, pulls back the curtain on how AI is transforming real workflows, not just dashboards, and how companies can turn digital labor into competitive advantage. I will see you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/saasfuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.
Let's go!